Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
I went back in time and played Shin Megami Tensei III Nocturne HD Remaster. I love when the games have like 18 words in them.
Yeah, SMT games. Japanese games with SMT especially have a lot of really long titles.
So, just some background on this. I have never played an SMT game before. I don't like Persona, but I love JRPGs. So this is one of those things where it's like, I'm going to jump in and just see what this thing is.
I remember this one being a very cool JRPG. Like, Final Fantasy is neat, but like SMT, that's cool.
It was always that one where, like, and again, this came out on PS2 in like 2002 or something, so I'd have been like 12 or 13. It was one of those games where, like, in like those movies where you're like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I don't think my parents would like me playing it for some reason. Like, yes. I couldn't tell you, having played it, it's like I couldn't tell you why, but in my mind I was like, ooh, that's that bad JRPG. That's the one.
Yeah, like an M-rated, JRPG. This isn't your Final Fantasies or your Pokemon. Well, exactly. It kind of is from what I understand.
It kind of is Pokemon. It's kind of fun. Anyway, so I guess just kind of to start with, this game HD Remaster is the most generous thing I've ever heard in my life. Had you, again, haven't played the PS2 version, but if you put this and the PS2 version next to each other, I probably would have gone, that looks a little better.
Yeah.
That's the extent of the remaster. So I think to start with, I think now, because there have been so many, you kind of expect things where it's like, okay, maybe there's going to be a fast forward. Maybe there's going to be a skip random battles. Maybe there's going to be some new little things in there to kind of make this more palatable in 2021.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the things there are kind of things we've gone like, you know what, random battles, there's a better way to do this.
Sure.
And things like that. And this has none of them. Literally none of them. If there is a like quality of life improvement you've come to expect from JRPGs, it is not here. This is booting up your PS2 and playing it as is, no messing at all.
Yeah. From
the outside perspective of having not played the PS2 one.
Sure.
So the only thing that is there is they added the merciful easy difficulty. I feel like I need to say it out front. Yep. I use the hell out of that easy mode. This game is hard as shit. So I made it probably, I don't know, maybe the first like 15 to 20% of the game.
Yeah.
Normal all the way through, no nothing, anything. There is a certain point, and the boss is kind of notorious, the Matador, where it's just like that thing wrecks you.
Is it really that bad?
I died like 7 times and was like, I don't have time for this, easy mode.
Sure. Okay.
And then I kicked its ass.
Yeah.
So I will preface here that all of this is going through, I would say the first 20% I played on, let's bump it up to maybe 25. First, somewhere around there. I played on normal. Yeah. From like that point to like just over halfway, I kind of bounced back and forth because the merciful mode actually cuts down the encounter rate on random battles. So it makes it much more palatable because so many of the dungeons are kind of puzzle aspect in and of themselves that I was getting so frustrated. Just like, I'm trying to figure out this damn teleportation puzzle and I can't figure out which room's linking where, but every 10 steps there's a random battle.
Does the easy feel like, because it cuts that down, does it just feel like standard random battles like you would expect, like this, or is it way low? Or is it like super low?
It would be lower than average, I think.
Okay.
I would say the game on normal leans to like just above like what you would expect from like a mid 2000s JRPG.
Sure.
Easy puts it down to like a few steps below average. I mean, it's still
okay.
Actually maybe even a little less than that. There were a couple of times where it's like, okay, I made it pretty well through a good chunk of that dungeon without seeing a monster, and then I would pop it back up to normal. So it's like, I want to see some of the monsters. I need some new demons. I want to see them. So because
that's funny.
You can make it through areas with only doing maybe 4 or 5 random battles, so you wouldn't see every enemy type. So I would switch it back up just so I could see more enemy types.
Yeah.
But yeah, so again, and then maybe the last like 25-30%, I was just like, screw it, easy mode. I'm done with this. So just to get that out there, but the game in and of itself, to kind of get to actually the core of the game and not necessarily the HD remaster, but to actually focus on the game, it's very interesting.
Okay.
I had kind of like the first chunk, it sets up like a really cool premise because you just start out walking around like normal normal Japan, looking around and kind of talking to people, figuring out what's going on, and you're basically just trying to get to this place to meet up with your friends and your teacher. Mm-hmm. And as you go through there's some weird things that happen, and you meet up with this dude who's talking about all these weird cult gatherings that have been happening and how like they're signaling this crazy event that's going to happen. And then you get to this place, and it's a hospital. I don't know why it's a hospital, but you get there to see your teacher, and the hospital's just empty. And you're like, okay, well, what's going on? Like, there's like a couple of like these cultist magazines kind of sitting around that you look at. And then again, spoiler for the first 45 minutes of a 19-year-old game, the world ends and the apocalypse happens. And initially it's presented as you are the only one who lived.
Okay.
But it's like you and the other couple of friends and your teacher that you're with in this hospital. So then you kind of get into the apocalypse, and it starts out with going like, okay, well, what the hell's going on? And then, okay, we kind of figure out what's going on, and eventually get to this point where you realize like, okay, my new power, you become the demi-fiend. And my basically what you're trying to do is determine which of these people who started out as like the friends and the people you interacted with in Tokyo, who've all adopted these like demonic personas, and they've all kind of aligned themselves with different gods and things, who all have their different view of what creation should be.
Yeah.
So it ultimately kind of comes down to you, and there is different endings, there's all that stuff, deciding like, okay, like which of these am I going to support, like in creation of a new world, because this world is essentially just like a void of like nothingness that exists between the two different like creation points in the world.
So, like, do these characters are like kind of giving like their viewpoint on like what the new world should be? Is it like the first 25% is the first friend, the second 25% is the second friend sort of thing, or is it okay?
You bounce around like crazy.
Okay.
I will say as well, the game has that old school JRPG RPG vibe of like, if you miss a conversation line where they happen to be like, hey, there's something funny going on over in the park. So what are you up to now? And you're like, well, where am I supposed to go? And it was that line that like, there's something funny going on in the park. That's not a side quest. That's like, this is the quest. So it kind of makes you bounce around a little bit, which take it or leave it. But it intertwines the characters. So it'll be like, oh, this character was doing this thing. Like, maybe you should go check on him. Ooh, did you hear what's happening with this group of demons? Let's go check on them. Okay, this is happening here. And you kind of bounce around. And then obviously, like, the end is kind of the culmination of a lot of that. But it does a good job of kind of keeping you bouncing back and forth. So it's not just like you said, where it's like, okay, here's my, like, this mission, boss for this character. This mission, boss for this character.
So at the end, like you spent like your whole game with like all of these characters, and at the end, that's when you're like making your.
So you make your choices like subconsciously, almost like it's basically in the interactions with these characters. So like, okay, so there's the one.
Okay.
So like, there's the one character who's like, it's called your reason, and it's basically like, the reason for creation is that we need a new world where the strong dominate the weak, and if we had a world that was built off of strength, we wouldn't have any issues. Things would be better. Yeah. And then it'll basically ask you as you interact with this character, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? And then you'll jump to your next character. They'll ask you questions kind of around their reason and go, okay, how do you feel about that? And you kind of get the like, let's do it. What are you talking about? There's some where it's just like, remain quiet. So you can kind of get this. And then the game, I don't quite know how it works. I'm assuming like kind
adds it all up together.
Aggregates your response to like, okay, more often than not, you supported blank reason. That's the reason you're going with.
Oh, okay.
And then you don't.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
And you obviously don't really figure out where the game's kind of aggregated you towards until you get to kind of those final moments.
And I guess specifically, did you look up a guide to like weave through those conversations, or just like, this is how I feel actually during these conversations?
I went with this is how I feel. I wasn't going for. I knew there were different endings. I didn't know enough going in to like tailor it that way. I think the first couple I was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I had looked up a guide for like one of the puzzles, and I was like, oh yeah, this affects your person, you're the demi-fiend's reason, like overall reason. And I was like, oh, huh, all right, we'll just keep playing how we're playing. Yeah. But yeah,
no, that's cool. I like that. They stayed away from, because I feel like sometimes you're like, I'm going to get the best ending. It's like, no, I want to get the ending that
that I would have gotten.
I would have gotten, sort of thing. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, wasn't a fan of the way that it ended, but that's okay. Wasn't a fan of my ending, even though I think I did it the way I would have. But the main gameplay thing here, and this SMT V comes out in a few months, and I think this is where it kind of comes back, and where I'm kind of excited about. It plays like Pokemon. which is
Sure.
such a weird way to do a traditional JRPG. So essentially the way that it works is your main character, and this is the only game I've ever played where main character death means you're done, has worked because it fits in the context of the gameplay and the story.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
So basically you are a party of one, you are yourself, and part of your new power when you enter this world is that you can talk with and control demons.
Mm-hmm.
So as you go through, just like you would in Pokemon, you throw a Pokeball at them, catch them, and the demon's on my side now, yay! You have to negotiate with demons.
Mm-hmm.
So like you'll go through, you start out with basically your one, you get like your one free demon, kind of like Pokemon, but from there you have to talk them through. So like you'll go talk to them and be like, hey, come join me, and you can do it and you do it in battle. So it's like an action turn is like go talk to them. So you're like, hey, come join me, and they're like, nah, you look pretty weak, and they're just like. F off, and like they're just done with you, and they're like screw you, and just like you lose your entire turn that turn, and they just start attacking you. It might be like there's some where they'll come and talk to you after you're like kind of beating them down a little bit. They're like, hey, whoa, chill, like let's talk. So they'll approach you. But the general thing is that like, okay, you approach them and they'll go, okay, I need this, and they'll be like, give me $4,000.
Oh, okay, they're that explicit with it. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's like I need $4,000, and you go, and it gives you the comply or do not comply. You click comply, and they go, man, I'm still feeling a little light. Could you give me $2,000?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
And you're like, I already gave you 4. All right, let's keep it going. Yes. Like, oh, but I'm feeling a little weak. Do you have a medicine?
Jesus. Yeah, that's so funny. So it's like adding up.
And you hit comply, and they're like, okay, well, here's a question for you. If you were to pick between these two things, which would you pick? And you pick one and go, blank demon got aggravated with you and leaves.
That's so funny.
All that shit's hilarious. Gone. It's so cool the way that balances out with like your thoughts of item use, because essentially money is everything. Like you have to use your money to get items. You have to use your money to heal. All healing costs money.
Weird.
You have to use money to obviously recruit new demons. That's the most common thing they ask for. So as you do it, you recruit them. You get your party, and you can have up to like it expands as you go. I don't remember the final number, but like 10 or so demons in your group. You pick the 3 that you want to fight with, kind of like you would do with Pokemon.
Oh, okay.
And then
do they do? Yeah, sorry. Keep
going. Wait, what? Go ahead.
I was gonna ask, do they do a lot of the demon melding stuff? Because that was always super. That's kind of okay. Yeah, I was curious if they did that.
Yep. Yeah. So you can go in and you can merge 2 demons together, make a stronger one. You can buy like weird elemental things to like add fire elements and that kind of stuff to your demons as well. You can buy those. But yeah, you fuse them together, you get your higher level demons. It's how you get some of the cooler looking ones and more powerful ones that I kind of found as I went through, but merge them together. So there's a lot of like too, where it's like, okay, my demons are getting weak. I need to convince a couple to join me so I can start fusing these to get more powerful ones to actually keep up with where I'm at.
No,
so
that's
it all
cool.
plays in there.
Yeah, that's like a major component of Personas. I'm just like, a lot of what you're saying is similar to Persona, although this system sounds a lot meaner than Persona. With the because in Persona you have to answer questions based on their personality, kind of, but you don't lose anything. You don't lose money and stuff. I've just heard this game's just kind of like mean on purpose, but it kind of fits the tone and that sort of thing. It kind of sounds kind of soulsy, to be honest. I don't know.
Maybe. It does have that kind of like mean. I mean, you're in like a world of apocalypse run by demons. Like, it's not like they're running going like, "Hey, how's it going, buddy?" Like, it's not that stuff. So, like, a lot of it does come down to the game's going to be kind of mean to you, and it's doing these things. And again, it works because of the setting. It's the same thing. Like, I hate JRPGs where protagonist died, the whole party died. That's no good. I hate that. But this one makes sense because if you die, then like the demons are just free because they're working for you essentially. So it makes no sense to carry on as like, this one random demon's going to come. It doesn't fit contextually.
Yeah.
The other kind of cool thing is that the dungeons had some cool puzzles on it. Which
interesting.
Sounds weird for me to say.
The RPG puzzles are usually like, I don't know.
So
that's something I would.
They're not like puzzles because the puzzles are essentially you getting through the dungeon. So, like, there's one where you go to this construction site, right? And the construction site, you're, like, in the bottom level, and then there's, like, bridges kind of overarching the path that you would walk through. Mm-hmm. So what happens is these demons basically show up and are like, you're not getting through. We got all the ways blocked. So they go sit on these bridges, but you can't see them because they're, like, little tiny demons.
Yeah.
From where you're at because you're below them looking up. So, like, you can't see them. So, like, the puzzle is trying to figure out which path actually ultimately leads you to the next room.
Oh, weird.
And then
Yeah.
there's like higher up places where you can climb up the high place, kind of see them, look down, and you can see where these demons are. So then you can kind
That's
of
quite cool.
navigate your path that way. Once you get to 2 or 3 of these, they go, okay, now you can do that, but we're going to move formation every now and then.
Oh, Jesus.
So like, again, the game is like hard as hell. Like this is one of the hardest games I've ever played. For sure, one of the hardest games I've ever made it all the way through.
Okay. Yeah.
Barring easy mode. Again, without that easy mode, I would not have made it through this.
Yeah.
The other one that's really cool is you go to this big tower, and basically what the demon in charge of it has done has painted fake hallways. So like when
Like
you
Looney
walk,
Tunes?
yes, like exactly like Looney Tunes. So like as you're walking closer, you can go like that path's drifting to the left based on my perspective. But if you get too close to the paintings, it shoots you back to the beginning.
Oh my god!
So you like have to like kind of like look back. It's so cool when you do it because like the first couple times you do it, you're like, "What the hell?" And you like walk up to it, and it's just like that old like classic like cinder block painted on top of it, and you can see like all the like lines of like where the bricks would be, and you can just see that they clearly painted a door. It's so cool the first couple. Amazingly frustrating by the end, but very cool for those first couple times. So this game is like, it's so cool and so unique. But I would struggle so much to recommend it to anybody.
Sure. Yeah.
It's brutal. It's brutal. Like, again, I have no qualms about playing a game on easy at all. Like, if that's what I'm going to do, because I'm playing a game to enjoy myself. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be all high and mighty about it. I'm trying to have fun. So I am perfectly fine using easy mode. And again, a couple of those dungeon puzzles, I busted out some guides, because especially towards the end, they get real long and real confusing. So I love it, and I'm fine doing that. If you're not fine doing that, like this is a rough game to get through. I think had I played this until like 2002 or whenever it came out right around then, no chance in hell I finished this game.
Are you now more interested now? Like, I mean, SMT 5 is out there, but I mean, there's like other SMT games out there. Are you like interested in like, well, kind of exploring this world because there's like an action RPG series? There's a lot of SMT stuff. Is this kind of like open the book to SMT stuff that you're more willing to take a look now?
I mean, I'd be curious about it. I don't think I'm like gonna go diving in like head first and be like, oh, I gotta play all of them like I did like when I played Yakuza. Like the first Yakuza I did, I was like, done. New favorite series, playing all of these. It's not there, but like I am all in on Shin Megami Tensei V. All in.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll be there day one. Like I'm so excited to see like the evolution from this to here. So no chance I'm going back to Persona, because I think that was my other thought. It's like I always
I was about to ask.
I know that's where you're going. Because Persona is one of those series that I've always really wanted to get into. It's so good, and I can acknowledge that it's good, and I know that it's good, and everybody says it's good. I hate that high school bullshit.
Sure, yeah.
And this feels like Persona if you take out that high school bullshit.
Yeah. So I also was an anti-high school bullshit. I was a big, didn't like that stuff. And then played Persona 5, and I was like, actually, this stuff's pretty good.
I made it like 10 hours into that because that high school bullshit pissed me off.
Yeah,
so,
I get what you mean.
Again, I thoroughly enjoyed my time. Yeah. It is a very unique game. You are not going to find another JRPG like this. Again, haven't played any of the other SMT games, so I'm guessing there's some similarities there, but it's a very unique game. I can definitely see why people consider this to be such a great JRPG. It's a unique thing. But you got to know going in, this game is hard. Like, it is brutal. Like, but if you're cool with easy mode, there you go. Anyway, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.